I'm technology reporter Andrea Chang. Many of you have probably been part of a fantasy sports league where you and a bunch of people create virtual teams based on real-life professional athletes. Points are awarded for how well those athletes perform in their games, and at the end of the season, someone in the fantasy league is declared the winner, which usually means bragging rights and a pot of money. Now a handful of tech startups are putting a twist on the classic fantasy sports concept by taking what used to be a season-long activity and making it into a daily or weekly one. Here to chat more about that is my colleague Paresh. Paresh, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Andrea.
So you just wrote a story about websites that are changing fantasy sports as we know it. What are some of these companies and how do they work?
Well, some of the popular ones are FanDuel, Draft Day, Draft Street, and sites that have very similar names. And basically, instead of having a team that you pick, let's say, before the football season or before the baseball season or before the hockey season, you pick a new team every single day. So you're drafting maybe a handful of players rather than drafting a whole team before the season. And on the sports side, the pure benefit is that, you know, if you pick a team at the beginning of the season, if you pick a star player, they get injured, like an Alex Rodriguez or a Derek Jeter from baseball. I mean, you're in a bad position if they get injured in the middle of the season. But now you can pick a new team every day and there's less risk involved.
And what are the buy-ins? I mean, this is actually betting online. Mm-hmm. And how much can I expect to win if I do this?
Well, the buy-ins are as low as $1. They can be as high as $200 depending on what league you join. There's all kinds of options, but the payouts can be as high as $700, thousands of dollars. It starts to add up. And the way the leagues work, most of them, if you make more than $600 in a season, they'll start charging you taxes and making sure that you report them and things like that. So that shows you how serious these are, that you're making enough money that you have to report it on your taxes.
Yeah. I mean, is this online gambling? I know that back in 2011, online poker was banned, and that was really big news. This kind of sounds like gambling. Is that what the sites are calling it, or how they're getting around that?
It's not quite gambling. So in the a 2006 federal law that sort of banned online poker made a special exception for fantasy sports, as long as those fantasy sports games weren't betting in the true sense that you just bet on one team or you bet on a single player. Instead, if you're showing some sort of skill by forming your own team, by putting together a bunch of good players, that shows that you have some sort of skill and special knowledge. And through that exception, fantasy sports and fantasy sports betting is legal. Now, the question is daily fantasy sports legal in the same way? Because back then, in 2006, these daily fantasy sites didn't really exist. They started popping up about 2-4 years ago. And so now there's a question that maybe they're in this murky legal territory. But it's to be decided. For now, these sites are saying that they're legal, and no one's had any problems so far.
So it's like play now, worry about it later. So usually when I think about fantasy sports, I'm thinking Yahoo, CBS, ESPN, and those are kind of the big sites that do traditional fantasy leagues. Are they interested in getting involved in this kind of daily and weekly play?
And throw in Fox Sports in there too. Right now, none of those sites really have a daily offering in the sense that these startups are offering, but it's possible that they'll get into this at some point. Maybe they'll buy one of these startups. One of the things that's interesting about one of the Los Angeles startups that start coming into this space, it's led by the former head of Yahoo Fantasy Sports Division. And Yahoo's obviously the industry leader there, widely successful, but he said that, you know, Yahoo was slow to adopt mobile. It's a big company. They have a lot of things going on. It's hard for them to just start something new. We've seen their new CEO, Marissa Mayer, go on a buying spree, buy lots of startups. It's possible that one of these fantasy sports offerings might be next on our list.
Wow. All right. And then tell me about the kinds of people who play these kinds of games online. I mean, are they like hardcore gambling addicts? Are they sports fans? Or are they just kind of average Joes like you and me?
A lot of the people who play right now, from what I get the sense of, are people who are really hardcore, really into sports, or really into betting. Some of those people who lost their online poker sites because they got shut down in 2011, they started migrating to this because they could bet every day. I talked to a software programmer out in Philadelphia who wasn't really into sports, but a friend got him to play a fantasy football league. He was kind of interested, and from there he found out about these daily games, and now he's so hooked on these games that he's working for a startup that's likely to release a product sometime early next year about daily fantasy sports. So he's really gotten hooked. A lot of Wall Street traders, things like that, playing these games. The next step is what Topline, the local Los Angeles startup, wants to do, is attract those casual gamers, people who don't really care about sports, but maybe they'll be interested in winning a free T-shirt or something like that, a free jersey, and getting them to play and participate in these sports by giving them other non-cash prizes.
Nice. All right. Well, that is all the time we have for today. If you want to read Paresh's story online, go to latimes.com/business, or to check out more of our tech coverage, go to latimes.com/technology. Thanks a lot.